Sup my dudes, Valk here. Today I'm going to be not showcasing, but I'm going to be telling you guys a top 10 units in the game because I've seen so many people coming in asking for a tier list. If you guys are curious, I don't do full tier lists. There's like 300 units in this game. I'm not exaggerating either. If you go through the list, there's genuinely like 300 units in this game. I'm not making you a tier list of every single unit. Instead, I'm going to tell you guys the top 10. These are units you should focus on. These are, in my opinion, the top 10 best units in the game. You feel free to disagree with me. It's just more so on how much damage they do, the size of their damage, how good they are early on versus end, etc. I take a lot of things into account whenever I do this. It's not just like who's the absolute best damage in the game. But yeah, there's a lot of things I consider whenever I think about my top 10 list. So basically, let's get into it. First off is Senku and Leader, Dr. Stone and Leader. These are two tier 0 characters. They, like Dr. Stone, absolute best money generation in the game. It's not even close. He generates so much money, it's silly. He's a slightly worse Merlin. He's also a slightly worse category lead. He's a category buffer. He buffs categories or anybody by 30% on a category buff. And then he also does a range buff by, I believe, 30% as well, where Merlin's 40%. So basically, Dr. Stone he's Dennis, he's Idol, he is Merlin, and then he is any category buffer in the game, all packed into one unit. Not to mention, Dr. Stone's buff stacks with itself. Like if you have multiple people running Dr. Stone, it does stack. I've tested that. And then there's also a way to make Dr. Stone actually stack with an actual category lead, like Leader, who we're going to get into in a second. Yeah, it's just broken. It's just super, super, super broken. So, the other tier 0, other unit we don't put on a tier list is Leader. LR plus Leader. Now, why? Really strong lead, just like Dr. Stone, but he leads youth. Cost minus 20%, makes it so you can take any youth category unit and basically go run in a progressive mode for cheap. And then he also is a 54% base attack buffer, 54% category buffer to youth, fierce fighter, flowers, and genius. Basically 4 categories all in one, as well as he has a money increase, like he increases the money generated from money units, and he decreases the cost on part of it, like intermittent buff he applies. Just absolutely broken unit. Stupid, stupid, stupid strong, insanely powerful. So next up is a unit I don't have on my list. The very first unit that we're going to consider number 1 in my top 10 is Krollo. Krollo I haven't got him yet, haven't got around to macroing the event yet. Yes, I'm going to macro it. That's how I'm going to grind it. Don't feel like actually doing this event. So I'm just going to macro it. Exactly what I recommend other people do. So basically, Krollo, if you guys don't know what he does, he has Karma on his fishies. He leads himself by 140%. He has Decay on himself, and then he also has an active that lets him steal other actives. From what people have been telling me, because they've been testing pretty actively, Peem appears to be the absolute best active he can steal, because he's going to be able to gain superpower on top of Decay, as well as the little damage boost that Peem does. So you're going to want to run Peem with him, just so he can steal the active. And then he is going to have Decay plus superpower boosted as well. He does have very tiny AoEs, but I think that the amount of damage he can potentially dish out absolutely negates how small his AoEs are, because he just does so much damage. It's absolutely ridiculous the amount of damage he can dish out. Really, really, really wild unit. By far, he's like quadruple anybody else's damage in the game. By far the best unit in the game, in my opinion. So next up is Boros. LR plus Boros, there's a couple reasons. Well, one is just the amount of damage he can do. The ridiculous amount of damage he does is basically it. He's a 3 placement, raise attack into Cosmic. He's not full AoE or anything, but he does have a pretty fat circle. And the way Cosmic works, he's always going to do a percentage of the enemy's HP, as well as 25% of his attack, and afflict the slow. So he is going to absolutely obliterate anything, regardless of the amount of HP it has. If you have Cosmic on a unit, that unit is always going to be able to do a ton of damage to the enemy, and he hits really hard regardless due to his raise attack and 3 placement. Just a really, 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 really good unit. He is easily super, super, super strong. So next up after Boros, we have everybody's favorite Esper rival. We have what's his name, Turqi? I can never remember his name. We have this guy. Basically, you can see his attack on placement, 14k. Like, he goes raise attack into flame 2, and then he has a shambles, basically, where he knocks them back really, really far. On active, he can only apply it once per enemy every time. You guys can see how much damage I've dealt. He has probably the highest damage output in the game outside of Krollo. Like I said, Boros doesn't really count because Boros is always going to do as much HP as his art. Cosmic units don't count because they're always going to do as much damage depending on the amount of HP the enemies have. Like if I were to go into training and give like an enemy like infinite amounts of HP and then just do one cosmic hit, it's going to out DPS anything else possible in the game. But if we're not considering cosmic and we're not considering Krollo, then yes, Turqi has absolutely the best damage output in the game. Absolutely wild amounts of damage he can dish out. Even surviving a damage nerf and a placement reduction, he got cut from 2 placement to 1, and a damage nerf, he's still absurdly strong. He's still insanely powerful, more powerful than anything else that was in the game prior. Really, really, really damn good unit. Next up is Peem. This is LR plus Peem specifically, not the Form 1 Peem. This Peem. So why is this Peem on this list now? Well, for a couple reasons. One, she can be leader buffed. And 2, she's on Nature's Fury because Butterfly Guard is now in the game. Poof, and Poof does 3 times buff to Nature's Fury. It means that Peem is able to get 54% category buffed by LR plus leader, as well as 3 times buffed by Poof, meaning that Peem can get that sweet 162% base attack buff on top of Peem's own attack getting buffed by 300%. And then go into a guaranteed superpower as well once she meets the damage requirements, meaning that she's able to do some of the absolute most damage in the game at around like she can take out like 720 mil targets. She can do that all while also being the only cleanse in the game where she can cleanse debuffs off your allies. So if you're not running resist on your team, if you're going against ambush, she's really valuable in that regard as well. So good damage, good effect, good everything. Peem is just absolutely one of the best units in the game. And that is a character that you should focus on while you can. Next up is Mooj, is Necar. Necar kind of got sent to the moon. So Necar, the way she works, she is a low SPA debuff spammer. And because of that, any stat she gets, any attack she gets absolutely ballooned and she just explodes, right? She balloons, like because of the stat bubbling and because of ballooning, she's able to take this little bits of attack increase and just absolutely go nuts with them. So because she's on Nature's Fury, she now has a 3 times buffer this update, and because Dr. Stone, our Senku, is able to give anybody a 30% base attack buff upgrade, she's able to now, because you're going to run Dr. Stone in every single team you run, she's able to now get a 3 times buffer with a 30% category lead, which means a 90% base attack onto her own. So you're looking at like 1.3 million attack stat going into any story stage with her being able to stat balloon like crazy because she can essentially apply every debuff in the game at one time in a full AoE. Yeah, she is very, very, very strong right now. She's extremely powerful in my opinion. Absolutely wacky unit, really, really good. Next up, this one's going to surprise people because of my initial review, but the buffs did this much, is Genos. Genos now is a monster of an early game unit. You can see 3 SPA. Absolutely monster of an early game unit. He ends up like scaling up really, really hard because of his new buffs and everything he got. And he is just insanely powerful now. He is a powerhouse that can clear like Soul Hall on his own. You literally can place just him for Soul Hall and clear it. That's how strong he is. Like, UR++ Genos is so insanely powerful right now. Really, really, really damn good unit. A super powerhouse of a unit, and it's just absolutely worth it. So next one, at number 7, I don't have this one either, because he's the rarest unit in the game, is Zeno. Zeno is like a 15 million placement unit. Well, he was before Dr. Stone and all that. He's probably even more now, because he can get a 130 lead off of Power Reaper, too. So he is a 15 mil on placement unit, well was, and he's able to basically, he has random across 13 abilities and a full AoE. He's able to just do it, he just hits really hard essentially. He's able to apply DOT, so he's able to kind of handle every content in the game. The way you get him is you go to Esper City 5 and you just run that on Insane until he drops Good luck. I was told it was on a 0.02% chance. So, yeah, good luck with that one. But he's just basically a cheat code. He's able to beat anything in the game because he has tools for literally everything. And he's just a really, really, really good unit. Just hits really, really hard. He's really cheap. And he's also able to basically take care of every single stage in the game. So yeah, Zeno at number 7. At number 8, we have MR Shiro. We have, where is he at? The Field's controller, our sword controller, Field. This is just a super strong unit. He goes up into like a 7 million attack stat on resist. He can also go into critical. He can also go into justice. You guys can see how much I've used him. He's just a really, really, really solid unit, as well as being a 130 Swordmaster lead. He's just good. He's just really good, like insanely good. So next up after Shiro, we have Saber, LR plus Saber. She is King of Knights, actually. I gotta remember that. Alter. This is Saber Alter because she has raise attack and a crit. She's able to get into like a 3 million attack stat with crit, and she just does a ton of damage. That's really all that she's here for. Like, her leader skill is really good, don't get me wrong, but she is here because she just hits really hard. She has a very big bonk stick and bonks really hard because she has raise attack and a crit and just absolutely trucks things. Super, super good unit. And then the last unit on my top 10 is actually a unit I don't even have evoed, is Shinji. Wouldn't be a top 10 without putting UR++ Shinji on it. What UR++ Shinji does is he basically rewinds the enemy every single time he attacks them, but he can only rewind an enemy once, so this is something that only applies once. But he's able to rewind all the enemies as they come out. And then he has an active that clones, I believe, all the enemies and puts them back on the track on your side for a percentage of their HP. If I remember it right, exactly how it works. Basically, he's got a nuke. He is a good utility unit as well as a nuke, and he's perfectly Abyss legal, which means you can take a nuke and go nuke like Toby and stuff like that to go ahead and take care of that pain in the butt. And there's all sorts of things, and Shinji he's just insanely good. Like, he's absolutely a top 10 unit, and the fact that he's only at 10 is kind of crazy. It shows how far we've come. But yeah, everyone's going to wonder where Gilgamesh and all that is. Gilgamesh is still insane, don't get me wrong. In fact, Gilgamesh is even better now because he has a category buffer with 30% with Senku. It lets him reach some crazy attack stats. He has a really good lead because Treasure Hunter is so strong right now. Treasure Hunter is absolutely a top 5 unit, our top 5 team in the game. It's just, there's just really, really, really good units now, right? Anyways, that's basically the video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with my top 10 or not? Thank you guys for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.